What I wanted to do this afternoon is just give you an overview of some budgetary areas for the budget that we're presently preparing for fiscal year 1920. Main part of that would be that I'd like to request 2 additional caseworkers. I'm not sure if you're aware that the Auditor General did an evaluation for, lack of a better term, child welfare agencies, and one of his recommendations in the state of the child was that caseloads were way too high. And as a result, the Office of Children, Youth, and Families is planning to implement it as of July 1st, reduction in caseload sizes from 1 to 30 to 1 to 20. There's also some speculation that in 2021, they go down to 1 to 17, and I'm sorry, yeah, 21, and in January 1st of 2022 down to 15. I'm not so certain that's going to happen. I think there's way too much of a financial implication on the state and the counties, not only for the additional staff that would need to be hired with the size cases, but the space issues that the counties are going to experience. So I'm not certain that they're going to go down that low. But at this point, we have 2 units that do not meet that caseload ratio. That's our intake unit and our general protective services unit. Even without that ratio, it was my intent to request 2 additional caseworkers for 1920 anyway, because caseloads really have skyrocketed. You've heard me talk numerous times about the changes in the Child Protective Service law, and in our intake unit, caseloads have gone from an average of 1 to 30 in 2015 to 1 to 42 in 2017. Now, it's important for you to understand those averages of like 42. Approximately 19 of those are what's called screen outs. Screen outs are cases that are referrals. The caseworker makes a contact, the referral's invalid. So it's referred to as a screen out. According to OOCYF, we're not to count those cases as actual cases. So in the intake, that would still take me to 1 to 23. With the additional caseworker, it would take me to 1 to 18. In the protective services unit, we've gone from, and that's different, there are no screen outs, or that's an ongoing service, but we've gone from 1 to 17 to 1 to 22. An additional caseworker there would take me down to 1 to 17, which is again within those ratio limits that the state plans on implementing. The total cost to the county, in other words, your county share for salaries of 2 workers plus benefits would be a little over $17,000. But for the first fiscal year, it wouldn't even be that much, because the budget wouldn't even be approved until September, beginning of September. It would take probably 2 or 3 months after that to even get someone on board. So we're looking at, I'm guessing, around $11,000 in the first fiscal year. And as I was talking with you yesterday, I really probably should have requested these workers for this fiscal year when I did last year's budget. The issue with the needs-based budget, you base it on trends and projections, and you're planning in advance, so you almost got to guess to a certain degree on what your needs are. I knew in 2015 our caseloads went up pretty good, and in 2016 they went up again. But then when I looked at 2017, in the first 6 months, the calendar year, which is the only data they had available, those numbers were pretty consistent with all of 2016. So those were pretty manageable, so I assumed we were going to be in okay shape. Shortly after the budget was approved, caseload went through the roof. And they're still at the same levels as they were now as they were in 2017. But what I had as a saving grace last fiscal year, I know Leanne and Michelle presented 2 different cases, C-Web students, that's no cost to the county. And they were tremendous help because they're able to take cases like the screen out cases and those things and takes additional burden on the regular caseworkers. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to secure C-Web student this year. So So, that puts us in a hole a little bit more. So I'm gonna get real creative to make it through this fiscal year and figure out how we're gonna be able to handle things, with those kind of numbers. But again, for fiscal year 1920, the cost to the county, I'm guessing would probably be around $10,000–11,000. I can certainly answer.
You say it's costing the county,
At a county share.
county share.
Yeah, the overall cost for the entire fiscal year for 2 caseworkers plus benefits is around $85,000. So roughly 20% of that is the 17, a little over 17,000. But again, I don't think it's gonna take me at least 4 months or more to.
And the state fund, I mean, you feel pretty confident that that will be there, the state funding for these 2 positions?
100%. Sure. I've already talked to them.
Okay.
And they give me things, they put in whatever you want, but we're Lebanon County. Any staff member, but we'll.
And you have space for them?
Yes, sir. When we expanded, we had 2 additional slots, and that was good plan.
Sorry, I was a little distracted when you started. Did you mention, does this get us into acceptable ratios?
Yes.
Okay, so that's
Yes.
one question. Because we know the story all too well of other counties that have had problems. And, you know, a lot of times it's because their ratios are way out of whack or something like that. And so that's, okay, that's good. And how about for the rest of this year? When you say you're gonna have to scramble to get through the rest of this year, would it be helpful to do the last, quarter, to add 1 person?
Well, I certainly think anything would be helpful. And I told Jamie yesterday, I messed up in doing those projections. I just never thought they were gonna go that much higher, that quickly.
Well, I think we're learning that it's far cheaper to try to work with proper, ratios and staffing than it is to pay the other way when there's a problem. And so all I'm asking, if it's
Ideally,
it'd probably be $2,000 our share for,
well, for 2018-19, the present fiscal year that we're in, if we were to hire 2 additional workers now, well, it wouldn't be now, it's gonna take,
It would still
would
be January.
yeah, okay, but that's.
It would cost the county around $42,000.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have the
We
state
wouldn't get the
funding.
state reimbursement.
Okay.
Now, in the same token, if we're over budget, I can file an appeal on that. When you file an appeal, you file an appeal on the total amount that you're over budget. They don't care which categories they were. So part of the reason I'm over budget is because we hired 2 additional caseworkers. They're not gonna really care about it. So we could still get reimbursement if the state has the money available to do that. The last couple of years, that money has been less and less available. Would we get some? Again, speculating, I'm guessing, I think we would.
You're not as certain of that waiver being, or that appeal being funded as you are of the regular allocation, or not regular, but the future allocation in 1920 for the spots.
Those will be approved. I'm 100% certain of those. Unless somebody would, but I spoke with our regional rep for OCYF, I spoke to his supervisor, I spoke to the director of Central Region, and they all told me the exact same thing, that it would be approved.
So if you did an earlier hire, you'd roll the dice a little bit. For it. Right.
And I can't imagine that, they always thought we needed more staff down here, so I think that's why they're taking a stance that you put in for that.
Well, and Jim, the reason I'm answering it that way is because once you've notified us, and then you're trying to say, well, I'll try to figure out a way to get to the end, that puts us on alert, or we're in a position, okay, yep, he told us, now something happens, we're aware, and we decided to let you wait till, you know what I mean? So that, I get that, responsibility part, and appreciate.
And I apologize, maybe I shouldn't even, I was just being open and letting you know.
Hey,
that-
no,
No, you should be open,
Okay.
that's good.
I'm thinking, I know it's not easy to hire people, and personal thinking, having heard you and hearing what Commissioner Phillips has to say, I think we should be proactive and try to get people hired at least, by the first of the year.
And I'm guessing it's probably gonna, I mean, I super
That was
really,
his
really
proposal, I
appreciate it.
believe.
Wait, pardon?
That was your proposal, right? To hire for the first of the year,
No,
start the process.
proposal was for 1920 for next fiscal,
The next fiscal year.
Starting in June.
July 1st. I mean, that would be tremendous help, but also at 42,000, pretty good.
With some opportunity to get reimbursement, not a certainty.
Not certain.
Right.
And the uncertainty is whether or not the state has the funds.
Correct. Well, you know, quite a few times I filed appeals and we've gotten all our.
Exactly, you have a very good track record.
But
In
I
my
also-
mind anyhow.
Well, I appreciate it, but I also know there's been less and less money available.
Yeah.
And I think
So they
also-
take that into consideration. And they also take into, I know when they look at those, and that's why it's good, we've had some where we've been over budget, then we've been under budget, so we have had to file an appeal, but they look at these counties that every single year they file an appeal.
Yeah, and then they get tired of it.
Yes.
And I also think that as long as we've shown due diligence, that we've given you permission to work this into the coming budget, that we have done the right thing. And I think that that is something that, so that's fiscally responsible and also responsible to the children and the services we're providing,
I can
because
hear-
we're taking steps to make it right.
I heard that if something does happen to one of those children, that we're covered because we're put in the process. That's what I just heard you say. Not that we're protecting the children.
This budget is passed, and so we're taking steps to hire and correct the ratios and make that happen, and the state's on board with it. And I think that it's a gamble fiscally, but also I think that when you're trying to do the right thing, you can't always do it the same day. You have to work it in and make it happen. And there's a very good solid plan here to do that.
Are you referring to 1920?
You have down here July 1, 2019, effective.
That's it. I'm just, that's my proposal for the two workers, for two additional workers. And I think the other commissioner was saying about starting that earlier, January 1st, of getting two additional workers.
Right, but that would be this budget is already approved and passed, so now we have to work on the next budget, which is what you're proposing.
That's my proposal,
Right.
my pros when I come in this point, but I think what Commissioner Phillips and Commissioner Ames are saying, because of the situation I'm in now, doing that, starting that process now, and to hire two additional caseworkers come January 1st, 2019. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but I think that's, and we can do that, but we wouldn't get
But it's-
state reimbursement for that.
Exactly. And we
It would
don't
be
have that in
around-
our budget
it-
either.
It would be around 40.
Yeah, we don't have that in our budget either, so,
Well, it would be your next year's budget.
that's true, that's true.
It would be the county.
County's
Yeah,
2019
county's calendar
budget, so
budget,
you
yeah.
don't have that one developed yet.
Right, so we don't have that approved yet.
So I'm good with it.
And I am as well,
Okay, next.
because we'll be working, so that's gonna be part of your budget
It would-
presentation to us in November.
Well, no, I actually present mine at the end of this month,
Okay.
because I'm on fiscal year, so. Okay,
Well,
I got you, I know.
You-
I know. Thank you very much, I appreciate that.
Well, your track record, as Bill said, is so great with us and our credit and your credibility, that when you tell me that there's, issues with safety of children and not because of ratios and so on, I'm not inclined to wait.
But, and again, I really appreciate that, very much so.
When do you do an appeal on that if you're over? And let me back up. Do you expect to be over budget from what you're seeing at this point for the?
Based on this past fiscal year, we were overall, I think, around 15,000 over budget.
Okay.
So you try to make those corrections for the upcoming fiscal year. If the second part of this holds true and we get this additional revenue, then we shouldn't be. If it doesn't happen, and I still think there's areas that we need to look at because we have, in my opinion, we have some kids staying in here a little too long. We could be coming out sooner with better in-home services. And I think we started to take a much more proactive stance and involvement with drug and alcohol programs, where we have a program coming out to the agency half a day a week to assist us with that. And so I think that's going to eliminate the need for some of these constant placements as well. So I know based on the numbers we're looking at right now, our certified budget, we're going to be about 200,000 over our certified budget for this fiscal year. But the big reason for that is the youth advocate program, the day treatment program, was funded through a grant through the state. That grant has now expired. But it's still all part, it's gonna be hard to explain, but it's all part of our budget, but that's going into now our needs-based budget. So when it's put into needs-based budget, it makes it appear that our certified amounts now are much higher than what they were, but they were always there, it's just in a different category.
So, let me give you a scenario and see if I'm understanding this correctly. What the possibility is that if you come in, if you come in over budget, then the extra funding for 2 caseworkers for beginning in January you can try to recover that through an appeal.
Correct.
If you come in under budget, then it could get covered in the existing budget.
Actually, yes.
Okay, so it could be a nothing expense, not nothing, I don't mean.
There wouldn't be.
There wouldn't be an impact.
Correct.
Over.
Correct.
Okay.
But we're already anticipating to be over certified, like, again, this is really confusing, at 200,000, but we are, but we're not. It's just, it was always there, it's just now in the needs-based part, not the grant part.
So there are 3 scenarios. One, you come in under and it gets absorbed and there is no extra funding needed. Number 2, you appeal and you get it. You appeal for an overage and you get reimbursed for the overage. Or 3rd, you appeal for the overage and you don't get it and the county has to absorb it.
That would be correct. Those are the 3. If we would get nothing, I would be shocked. But again, because we haven't filed an appeal for a couple of years here now, all I've heard is that their funding is getting pretty low. The actual money that they have available to satisfy.
But you're not a regular.
But I'm not a regular.
Thank you.
The last time you filed was an issue that we had with probation, right?
Correct.
I remember that number was, I think, 900,000.
It was a lot. It was a lot. Yeah, it was significant amount. So, again, thank you very much. And the other part is probably, this is kind of confusing, but the federal government's changing rules for 4E reimbursement for counties. Through what's called the Family First. The way it's presently set up, we get around 51.8% federal reimbursement for children in placement in community-based residential placements. And that's throughout the entire duration of the placement. They're changing that. As of October 1st, 2019, you will only get federal reimbursement of whatever the rate may be at the time. Right now it's 51.8% for the first 2 weeks of the placement. After that, you get no federal reimbursement. That's going to create a lot, and Karen and it was really hard to figure this out, but Karen and I sat down and for quite some time, we figured out that it's going to result in a loss of about a little over $162,000 for the county in federal reimbursement for placements.
Say
However,
that number again.
$162,729 in lost revenue. However, there's a second part to that that's optional to the state. And this is where it gets real confusing because the state hasn't decided yet if they're gonna opt into this program. That's reimbursement for in-home services with the same 51.8% reimbursement rate. The state hasn't made a decision yet, and I've also heard that they may ask for a waiver until 2020. Because the definitions of approved in-home service programs are not, it's not very clear. I've researched it a lot, and based on what I've researched, and although the definitions are very vague, I think most of our in-home services will be approved. At least some of our ones that we use, like the youth advocate program that we use quite frequently. I think those, because they're supposed to be evidence-based, trauma-focused, and family and child-focused. Those programs fit that definition. The state, they're kind on that. Anyway, but if that happens, and the state opts into it, and I really think that they should, we're gonna generate over $330,000 additional revenue. So Lebanon County will actually experience a net gain of $167,000, roughly $500. The reason we'll have a net gain is because we don't go with community residential placements unless it's absolutely necessary. Other counties are really struggling with this. They're going to lose because I think they're more apt to go with those kind of placements that be community-based oriented.
And is that money in a silo, Jim, or is that money that we can use to pay for these other caseworkers?
It's money it's revenue that comes right in.
So it's not a silo, we can
You're
use it
getting
where we need
reimbursed
it?
for, you're getting reimbursed for a service, but the money just is included in your general revenue.
Okay, so that's
So
a
it could
whole
offset,
different
it can
story.
offset, and it's, when we have our revenue line items, it tells you, you're gonna get so much estate money, so much, so Title 4B, and then Title 4E, you're gonna get X amount of dollars. So it's just there, that's your revenue.
And when does it go to effect?
If they opt in, October 1st, 2019, so next October, not this
Not till
October,
next
next
October.
October. Because the federal government is on a, we call it federal leave.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I want to make you aware that I didn't want to spend a tremendous amount of time when we present the budget to you on these items, so that's why I'm just kind of giving you an overview and heads up. And again, I really appreciate it, and I assume I'll work with Michelle and Leanne on that budget.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Few minutes till
I'm gonna give 3, really,
human services block grant.
Yeah, those are 3.
Actually, it's aging, MHID,
Drug and alcohol. No.
I think they were pulled out.
They were pulled out.
All right, then.
That was basically my question, but then I remembered.
What's the executive session?
Michelle just doesn't list things. She's emailed out to me that she gets bumped up.
The things that we've been commenting on here.
Yeah, and I
Sheriff's
believe.
request.
I believe bargaining agreement this week, that was issued, so I think she's speaking just herself about that.
Mm-hmm. could just discuss it in another session. But Jamie said that they have done that in the past, so I don't know if I'm not that it's to be, it's totally optional. It's, we agree on the right material.
See him growing the back of
Yeah, he said, he said he was garage. He said he wanted to. He's operating one, that's what that was empty. The rest of them in the car. So they really thinking of things. He told me that he had trouble with his daughter had trouble with 911. He went 15 or clear on that. I think she accidentally hung up by 911. Put it this way. I'll go back to 911 on your cell phone. They can hear you, hear them, before they even answer your call. It's live from the time you dial.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Hey, guys. Get some chairs.
Good, you're fine, here.
Want to stay in the bleachers, huh?
Yeah, well, I can slide in.
No.
Okay, so you're gonna pull one over, we'll grab it.
I'll just hear one here.
I'll
You want to sit here?
I'll keep my bleacher seat.
Go ahead.
Good. Daniel, you know, we want you up in a position of prominence here.
I don't
Hi there.
How are you?
See you today.
You get to be a regular.
I
No,
guess
I
so.
don't.
Just for the next
You're
year.
right.
Oh, I think that's
Did you didn't bring it
fine.
along, did you?
Not another one.
Another one, yes.
Never Soleil, nice to see you.
See you, Commissioner. Doing well, thanks, how are you?
Good morning.
Hi, I'm
Good
Bill.
afternoon, I guess.
Good afternoon.
It's
also. I know, yeah. How are you?
right?
No, not yet.
Yes. It's still one morning, it's sunshiny and not used to this.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you as well.
Good afternoon. Afternoon.
We've actually got an employee from just south of the city that says his father has a lot with a couple of trailers that a bunch of his friends kind of come out on the weekends and hang out together and do a little fishing. And with the rains, I guess, 2.5 weeks ago, took a trailer for vacation. They got so much flooding and stuff, it just floated right down the river. They have no idea
Where it
is.
My dad and I lost one like that off the river many, many years ago.
Yeah.
Just
Hopefully it wasn't.
couldn't find
a favorite.
anything.
Hopefully it was the older one that you didn't go into much.
Just find a trailer.
So we're sorry about the litter.
Okay, ready to rock and roll.
We are.
Go ahead whenever you're.
Sure. Well, thank you for inviting us here to talk about our proposal. My name is Andrew Soleil. I'm the new executive director for Lancaster, Lebanon, Habitat for Humanity. And we want to have an impact here in Lebanon. We want to be able to take 3 houses that are on the 400 block of Cumberland Street and take them from being what they've been recently, being rental and a business, and make them owner-occupied homes. Not only homes, but ones that are safe, warm, and dry, with taxpayers paying into the system and also growing and flourishing in the community, helping rise the home ownership rate in the city. The key thing in all this, of course, is that they're fire damaged significantly. They need a lot of help. We would put in a great deal of work. We would use subcontractors that would be local. We would be using their local employees to help build it and stabilize it, getting it watertight. And then when we're ready and doing our fundraising for the rest of the funds, we would be ready to move in, finish it off, make it livable, comfortable, many bedrooms that are able to suit 3 families, and one hopefully for a veteran's family. The key, the initial thing to make it affordable, both for the redevelopment of homes and also for the families and make it the mortgage affordable, would be an infusion from the county, from the Act 137 funds, to help bring in the stabilization contractors to help do that initial work while we start doing our fundraising plans and getting that underway. That's what we'd like to ask you today.
What's that number?
125,000?
Betsy, you had some comments on it, re-emphasize those.
Okay, well, it'll be up to the commissioners, obviously, if they choose to secure the funding with a lien against the property. That wasn't done on the
Mhm.
Canal Street property,
Mm.
so I think because the county's money would be going in first, that would probably be the riskiest position for them to take.
Right.
But I understand why you would be doing that. I think it's gonna be a great help in your fundraising efforts for somebody to visualize, well, you already have this weatherproof,
Right.
and now I can imagine
Mhm.
putting $20,000 into this. So
Sure.
I would recommend that the county secure that with a lien against the properties, and that it be a conditional lien, which would be satisfied when the total repair, all the repairs are done.
Okay.
That was one suggestion or recommendation that I was making. Something else that came up that we didn't have a chance to discuss since you were in my office was that we've now been told by the Department of Labor and Industry that any public works project that's contracted for, and even though it's not the county who's doing the contract, where there's more than $25,000 going into that project, in whole or in part with public funds, you now have to comply with the state prevailing wages. Yeah, it's, it's awful. That's even on our rehab jobs now. We have to pay, if it's 25,000 or more going into it, no matter if it's HUD money, state money, local money, we have to do prevailing wage. Dan just got a wage request for roofers.
Wow.
I don't remember what that was.
$47 an hour.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it is awful. I mean, I feel
Your
you're
budget
paying.
Significantly.
So where it's only gonna, well,
Affect the
it's only gonna
subcontractors?
affect you,
Or would it affect the? or
it'll
not?
affect the roofing contract and the demolition, because that's what the county is gonna fund.
Okay.
So not the whole project?
No,
just-
it'll
The
just be,
stabilization.
I
it'll
was
just be
wondering
Act
that.
137
Okay.
funds that are paying for those contracts, but it's horrible.
As a percentage, how much higher do you factor?
20 anyway.
They're saying 25, I think I read 25 to 30%. Now, there are two bills that are pending. There's a House bill and a Senate bill, where they're proposing to make some changes that would exempt.
For years now.
Well, right, but this has come out in the last maybe 18 months. It would exempt single-family rehab from those prevailing wages, but right now it's not gone anywhere.
Is this an effective immediately time?
It has, it's just,
Oh,
L&I is
request.
giving, yeah, L&I is just coming down.
They're catching
hard.
up with it, they're
Yes,
reinforcing
exactly.
it, yeah.
So that's bad news. I mean, that's bad news for
Yeah,
our
it-
programs, but it's
well,
bad
it
news because
changes
it's
our budget
inflating
significantly.
it's inflating. But,
Yeah.
so, I don't know what your roof costs were. I mean, I know you had figured in maybe, I forget what it was.
Yeah, the roofing cost, and that was particular to the quotes, I'm not sure exactly how, I'm sure it was a prevailing wage.
Oh, I'm sure not either.
What, if you broke it up a little differently, see, I had in my head those three properties as being standalone, 3 units.
Yeah.
That if you,
3 different.
yeah, that maybe if you
Pieces of
to
money.
keep the threshold under, no, Jada?
Well, I'm shaking my head because
I'm
if you award the roofing contract to a single
Right.
Oh, I see.
vendor, then it doesn't matter how
Even if
many.
it's 3 separate projects.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Do you agree
there's
with that?
no way to just
I
buy
don't think so.
materials for the whole project and then have all the other stuff paid for otherwise? Does that make sense?
Dan, do you want to weigh in on that one? Because I'm not sure about that.
The state prevailing wage thing is new to me too. We're pretty familiar with the federal prevailing wage, but we weren't ever dealing with state prevailing wage because primarily administering federal funds. This is new to us. So the wage decision that I just requested and received was the first one. So I know on the federal side, what Commissioner Phillips is proposing would not fly, just because
They aggregate,
they
right?
aggregate by location, by nature, certainly by contract.
Well, the contract, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not sure, I don't know enough to say that you could break it out in any certain way. I just don't know enough.
Seems
I
logical.
don't know either, that's why I asked.
Seems logical to me that whatever the state implements is gonna mirror the federal. That's why would they do it differently?
Well, the federal government has an exemption for this type of rehab work.
But
Up
as
to
far,
six-
but as far as the
units.
rules, I mean, what
The
you.
project is the project, the aggregate. But even if we broke it out into the 3 properties, we'd still probably be over the $25,000 threshold.
Oh, you would be, yeah.
Absolutely.
So-
But if you packaged it all, see, I was hearing that part of it is not under the, under these guidelines, so that, you know, or if you just package that, we're gonna support it to 40,000 per, but not designate that it's gonna be for the stabilization part, or, you know, so that, so it would all fall under the prevailing wage issue. I'm just trying to think, I'd wanna be flexible if there's a way of,
We always try to be
you know,
flexible.
bypassing that.
Yeah, well, what they're doing is saying that if weak government money goes in,
Right.
it's
So I think
prevailing
even
wage,
if
that's what they
you just
want,
put
yeah.
40,000 a unit in, that's what the trigger is going to
Okay.
be.
So if we were at $24,999 for each of the individual units, and so we'd be giving you essentially 75 versus 125, which would be most cost-effective for you to do. That's how I would look at it. You might be paying a whole lot more to go prevailing wage, or you can accept $24.99.
Yeah, it seems like in that cost analysis, in my guess, from the amount of labor that this is going to take, it'd be better to take it at that 75.
Yeah,
Or
that's-
74.99.
Yeah, that seems like, to me,
Yeah.
a logical.
We could probably run that and ask the contractors to give us another estimate on that or anything,
Yeah.
just to give it
I think
conclusively.
if you have 30%
I'd like
of
to
that,
know.
you're gonna be better off with the one.
Yeah.
The other thing that maybe you could do to increase yours, if we're thinking about just doing the 25, what if we did, because the key is a contract, right? If there's a contract for it, what if the county's fund would pay some of the soft costs, some of the fees and such? What if we bumped up, let's see,
You have
Like,
other
you know,
funds at this point.
Like drywall, for example,
Supplies.
that is being put in by volunteers,
Yeah,
right?
that wouldn't be a contract.
But do you have other funds to get it weather tight at this point?
yeah, that was the reason we
That's the whole
thought that
purpose.
we were gonna
Yeah, there would
fund it.
definitely be, I mean, there would definitely be the construction side of the back, just to seal up, 'cause you're gonna have the back walls and so
So
forth.
do you have the funds for that other than what you're asking?
No, not
Okay,
yet.
so the whole
Just
point
for
is to get it
speed of
weather
it,
tight.
yeah, to get
So
there.
buying the soft cost, paying the soft costs
That's true.
aren't gonna get you weather tight.
However, the fungibility of monies that's restricted, you could give us that money, and as we forward fund the rest of the project through donations and so forth, we'd be advancing our own cash to put into the stabilization now. If we got the $125,000 for the soft costs, materials and so forth, going forward through the project, we take that in, holding it for that purpose, and we'd be continuing to do the fundraising. So it's over a year and a half, 18 months of the project, essentially, it all becomes in the same pot.
But don't we have to
It's-
pay based on bills submitted? Yeah, I don't think we can give you
Yeah,
money.
we wouldn't just be providing, you'd provide us with an
With the
invoice
invoice.
that
That
says, yeah.
explains why I can't.
I hope you're hearing that we'd love to work with you,
Mhm.
but we have all these rules, not that we made, but that
I
were
respect that.
imposed upon us.
I totally
And if you
respect
can find a way that it's acceptable to all levels of government,
Mm-hmm.
I'm certainly on board.
Well, the other alternative is to just ask for 25% more than you need, and that'll cover it.
Correct.
That's
How-
a fake bill.
Yeah, if.
No,
No.
he's saying abide by the prevailing wage rules, and it's just gonna cost now $160,000 instead of $170,000.
So-
And I want to verify the quote on this one, just so I can look at the whole budget in a lot of ways. Because this expand, I mean, that obviously would expand the cost of the project overall. And to stabilize it, I needed the cash to be able to go in quick, to be able to do it, next month once it's approved, so.
And were your quotes
Only to
from
verify.
Lebanon County contractors? So
Yes,
they
they
were all,
were.
okay.
I think we got a combination actually, because I think the original quotes were from a Lancaster company. And we've got, I think we've got like 3 different offers. They're very much on the high end and the low end for us to work with.
May I
So
ask,
if-
do you feel you'll get any pushback from the community by turning the mall into residences on the street that's, could arguably be part of the downtown?
So I think there's always somebody that might have a concern about bringing in, per se, a low-income resident or several low-income residents into the community, or changing it to owner-occupied or maybe a business or something like that. But I also think that when you're redeveloping an area, especially a group of houses like this, that might lie fallow for a number of years and possibly dangerous, putting in residents that are proud to be there and are the happy story of the community, something that we could all be proud in. I like to think that, one, the Habitat logo makes people feel like they're being part of a movement. I also like to think that the people who are coming into those homes are going to be great ambassadors about, we're here in Lebanon, we're proud to be in Lebanon. I also think that those sort of things, over time of fulfilling the promise of making these houses safe, warm, and dry, and occupied, will overcome any of the concerns in the short term initially.
Yeah,
Is that your
just
question?
looking at the value of that land versus further in on the north side where you folks have done some good work already.
Fair enough.
And yet, when I look at the available, places that are available in downtown for commercial, there is no shortage of that anyway, so that would be
That's
the other side of it.
And I would add to that nothing has happened or is going to happen foreseeably to these properties, so,
Yeah, the only
pretty
thing I
much
saw
any-
was tear it all down and
Right.
have a nice spot to build something.
Okay.
Would that happen? I don't know.
Yeah.
Our volunteers are gonna come in, there's gonna be, 8 to 15 of them a day, any day we have volunteers come in, and then they're gonna eat it, all that in a bag of chips, and they're gonna eat a quesadillas, and they're gonna shop downtown a little bit too, so that'll actually
No,
help a little
it's-
bit.
It's just a question, you'd have that familiarity with that issue in other towns that you do your work. And
Sure.
I was just thinking
Well-
because of the bonus office was there, now there's gonna be a.
Yeah. There's one thing, we're about to venture into our, new leadership with myself and some of the other staff at Lancaster Living Habitat. We want to make home ownership affordable fundamentally. And there's
By the
no
way,
ways.
while you're in our county, would you mind saying Lebanon, Lancaster?
Just
kidding. Just kidding.
We're gonna change the logo for this. So,
Go reverse
Let-
alphabetical.
So with Lebanon Lancaster Habitat for Humanity, we're doing our strategic planning actually in a bit of a rapid pace to get through it by December. And one thing that's already, we haven't really started or finished, but one thing that we all know and mumbling about, so to speak, between ourselves is how do we make a full commitment with Lebanon? And one thing is, example, we had the opportunity to buy a lot recently in Mountjoy. And just one lot, no house on it, still had utilities, so it's easy to go in, plug and play, and start construction. It had some appeal there, but we didn't understand, with our strategic plan guiding us, what was going to be that long-term commitment. We already know we want a long-term commitment with Lebanon, but what is it there? 3 houses in this neighborhood where there's restaurants, walkability, transportation, there's a lot of infrastructure that makes it a very desirable place. If we're going to put homeowners in, it's someplace I'd be proud to put them in. Any of the neighborhoods around here have a lot of those benefits. This one has something a little bit more for folks that want to be part of the community. If we're able to do that in some of the other houses next and doing some of these rows and so forth, this might be the first step. Show we're here, show donors, funders, and other volunteers in the community and so forth what we want to accomplish. Does that necessarily mean it's all in the city? Not necessarily. We're open to those questions. That's something we're going to be answering in terms of strategic plan. If you have input and suggestions.
I think the other thing that you should know is that we don't know the timeline as far as the transfer of titles because there's still the fire escrow issue. And the city solicitor is filing a complaint has not yet been done, by the way.
Okay.
So it could take a while for the court to rule as to who gets, the money that's being held. Because there's an issue with the present owner and the prior owner.
Prior owner.
And I think they're both claiming
So the title is
it's not
held up.
ready to
Right.
transfer. So that could give us a little time too, maybe to research and see if we can come up with some ways to properly circumvent.
That would give the legislature a little time. but
Well, it
they
would
need- They
also.
need more than a little.
I think they do, but we might be able to think about the availability issue also.
Okay.
Do you have families in mind for these properties already?
We don't have anyone committed for it, but we do have applications that we are holding, and in fact, great story. We just, I think we're beginning next week, talk to somebody filed an inquiry. She's a Section 8 housing recipient. I think she's a family of 3, so she has 2 dependents, not 3 dependents. And she generally, from what she told us verbally at least, she fits into the income guidelines and so forth. If we were able to put her in one of these residents, if she was able to qualify, it'd be amazing because you'd open up, the city would be able to open up a Section 8 seat and be able to make her a homeowner. So we do have applicants, there is interest.
And you're still accepting applications?
For Lebanon,
And
yes.
how would someone go about doing that?
So we've got a few partnerships. We have a list of agencies, churches, and other groups. We have a family services coordinator or community outreach coordinator that is in charge of going out and marketing and networking with these groups. We just did a little bit of this today actually with community college or with ACT.
Is there a phone number or
Are
a
you tied into
website?
211?
Yes.
They can go to our
There's
website.
an application there to fill out the inquiry form.
Can you give the website or the phone number?
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
www.lancasterlebanonhabitat.org.
We should have a
We
redirect
should
for
do-
Lebanon.
Lancaster Habitat. We don't have that now.
Are you tied in with 211 now?
Yes, we are.
And then my other question is, what you brought to us, is this also going to other agencies for funding? Because you have a lot of letters here, you could have saved all that for endorsements, because we know who you are.
Thank you,
Save yourself
thank you.
some work, unless you're looking for one for us, that you're going to take this to a package to other people.
That would be wonderful.
I think we would like to do that actually.
Okay,
Because
maybe
will
we
be
could
going
work
there
on
as well.
one for you, if that's what's your.
That would be very helpful. As you can see, that even the $125,000 for this project will need a lot more behind it.
Do you have a line of credit if your funding efforts are slow?
We do have a line of
You'll be able to
credit, we
fall
have a
back on something like that?
$500,000
Okay.
line of credit.
And those letters you're referring to are somewhat generic. It's a big concern,
Mhm.
support the project, not necessarily just for the funding.
A couple of them were specific to this, and a couple of them were generic.
Can you talk about the Canal Street property for a moment? Okay. And just by way of, I guess, a reminder or refresher, somebody help me with the year that purchase took place.
It was in my memo, I think it was 2008.
Okay,
That's correct.
so there was an allocation of funds from Act 137 for Habitat to buy property on Canal Street, vacant parcel of land, put some structures on eventually. Turned out there weren't utilities, it just became, the development of it became more expensive.
Financially feasible for you,
Right.
Elliot.
So that was funds that were allocated that Habitat purchased and now has raw land, and you've been trying to market that
Yes.
and get that,
It's on the market.
taken care of, so that that's, how are you making out with that? Or what's the
So
next
we've
step?
got one serious interested party. It's, forgive me, it's from 3-4 community partners, faith-based organization, led by Tom Keller, that is interested in purchasing the property and putting in tiny homes for low-income households. They would be rental occupied by belief, to my knowledge.
That's correct.
And, thank you. And they would have the same challenges we would have in a lot of ways. But we've talked about it, they understand that, they're even considering the SHOP grants, which is a HUD grant that gives up to $15,000 per unit for infrastructure development, which is a start. The ballpark is usually what we tend to estimate for our own project. You need to put, plumbing, like sewer and whatnot, electrical. And They are still, they have plans and drawings already drafted up. They're still working on the rest of their financing to get the loan package set up. I don't know what their price point is going to be. They're aware that the redevelopment authority's interest in being able to recapture as much as possible for the sake of the impact of 37.
So have they addressed the local, I guess that's in North Lebanon?
So,
Have they gotten through any of that, or is there?
I know that's why they brought the plans. I don't know the actual map at this stage.
I think they've met several times. I talked to Community Homes because they're one of the partners in the coalition. And they've been meeting with North Lebanon. They think that it will be acceptable to them. And once they go through all of their plans, costs, loan, and everything else, they were hoping that they might be able to come to terms with Habitat in 6 to 8 months. But, I'm just not sure on that. It's closer than we've been in 10 years.
yes, and it's a beautiful thing because of the entities that are working together.
Mhm.
Are all, it's Jubilee, Lebanon County Christian Ministries. I mean, it's just a great group of, and Calvary Chapel, who have transitional housing and are looking for, once people are ready to go somewhere, where do they go? They're looking at least the drawing I saw was 24 to 28 units.
Which is a lot more than Habitat can build
Yeah,
as well.
that's a great net gain for our county, and it's not in the city. I mean, there's a lot of,
Sure.
good things for that kind of, effort. So anyway, but that would be great use of that property.
So for purposes of their planning, how do you want to part company today? They have support for this, at least at this point verbally, but they've got to potentially work out the prevailing wage and so on. And
I would like to take a step
how to
of
react to that.
asking the contractors to see what the rate would be if they were to do the full prevailing wage for the same project. At least see if that amends our ask, or if we feel that might be too much, or if we just go down to 74 and then 99. It would be tricky there.
I don't like, that one is a little, to me, when you go to 24,999, yeah, I don't.
I am with you.
So, that to me would be a little,
I guess, are they okay to proceed,
Yeah,
knowing you guys are conceptually there?
conceptually, I'm definitely there. Great use of properties, and in my head, I was coming in at 40 or 50 per anyway, so we're right there.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right, thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you so
Very
much.
Yeah. Enjoy the sunshine.